Welcome to Two Mediums and a Large. My name is Lara.
I'm Robbie.
And I'm Heather.
Welcome today. We're just going to kind of chat about, how our days have been. We're going to talk a little bit about the full moon that's approaching and just see where things go today. Oh, there goes my lighting. Yeah. All right. How's
That was kind of
everybody doing?
creepy.
It
It,
was
it
kind of
happens
creepy.
all the time, this lighting. I know it creeped me out at first, but it's like you have to program it to a remote and it just kind of drops off every once in a while. Or
Okay.
it's
Uh,
Drops off.
yeah, that's great.
all right. How's
So
everyone going? Yeah.
pretty good. My week's been pretty good. It's been pretty busy. This last weekend was it was kind of hectic. The last couple of weeks I've had these really bad energy issues, and at first I thought, well, coming out of the new moon, full moon, Mercury in retrograde, everything in retrograde, maybe that's it. But the longer that I experienced it, the more tired I got, and the more I couldn't make decisions, and the more I was procrastinating. And so I finally asked my guides, what the heck's going on here? And they told me that I was part of it was because I was upgrading, but a part of it was because I was resisting the upgrade. And I was like, well, what the heck does that mean? And they told me that I still have kind of issues. I think that some of us do at some point with fully stepping out and being visible in what I do, and telling people exactly what I do, and that I was going to have trouble until I accepted that and step into it. So that's kind of what I've been working on this week, is trying to do that shadow work and come to terms with myself and why am I so afraid to step in fully to what I do? And when I find those answers, I'll let you know. I know a lot of it is, in the work that we do, sometimes it's hard to put it out there because you don't want people to think you're crazy or that you're weird or that you're some kind of fraud. And I think some of those things stick in the back of my head. Like a lot of the things that I access and do, I can't prove to anybody. There's no evidence that this is exactly what's coming through. So I think part of that stops me from actually telling people a lot of what I can do, because it's that fear of, what if they don't believe me? Or, what if it doesn't come through the same way it did last time? So,
Stop you for a sec, just because
mhm,
I feel that that makes a lot of sense. I get it. But it's what you're saying that resonates with people. So even though they're not particularly getting like evidence on it, what you're saying, like I know when you do readings for me, it resonates with me. It's like it's what I really needed to hear. So I think you need to believe in yourself.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And that's kind of what they've been telling me. It's just believe in yourself more. And quite honestly, one of them told me, and not to sound like a braggart, I said braggart, is they say, Robbie, just get out of your own fucking head. Oh, sorry, own head. They just say, get out of your head and don't um, let the judgments of the past, taint your future, which is really hard. Judgments we've gone through our whole life, people telling us, whatever, it does affect you. So it's part of what I'm working on. It's just understanding that I am good at what I do and fully believing it and encapsulating it, right? So that's what I've been kind of going through this week, is kind of an energetic kind of WTF, right?
Yeah. That
So what about
shadow
you
work.
guys? Oh, shadow work. And the thing about shadow, I think we've talked about this before, shadow work, you get through some of it and you're like, yeah, I'm on the other side. And then something else slams you in the face and like, nope, not yet. Now you got to work on this.
Not fully healed yet.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at today. What about you? How was your week?
Are you asking me? My week was kind of shitty. My
Oh,
week was, and no, it's not anyone's fault. It's just like there was a lot of things that kind of just happened and they like I was out being a good Samaritan, okay? I stopped on the side of the road. I think I told you this story.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
stopped on the
did.
side of the road to help some man that had fallen, okay? And he was, probably in his 80s. He was walking with a cane and he had fallen right into the road. And so he wasn't able to get back up. So I had called for like emergency services for him and I helped him. And while I'm out being a good Samaritan, it's like, no good deed goes unpunished. I threw out my back. Okay. I was bent down helping him. I messed up my back. I was feeling pretty miserable. There were some other little things that kind of happened, and I was just like, I was done. I think I spent like all of Monday in bed, and I was like, oh my God, the full moon's coming. This makes some more sense now. This is why every time the full moon approaches, I get all wacky. So anyways, it it passed, but yeah, for a couple of days there, I was feeling like super just not myself and just really down and out about everything. But other than that, like I came back with a lot more resilience this time around, and I felt a lot better. So yeah.
Good. Good. I'm sorry it happened, but I'm glad you got that resilience.
I know, right?
What
Heather,
about you,
I
Heather
can't
P?
talk to you too much.
I'm kind of feeling a little under the weather today, but I'm still here, still breathing. So it's always a good day. But just to, go off what Robbie said, I was thinking as you were telling this, I was like, judgment for me, especially when you're single, it can be really hard because, you try to meet, you put yourself out there, and sometimes you can get judged by people because it's just, culturally or religiously not acceptable. So right away, though, you're done. But I refuse. I know I came into this life with a purpose to serve spirit and to serve humanity, and I'm not willing to back down from that. So I know eventually, the right person will, come along my path and it will all work out okay. And back issues, like that's no joke. I've thrown out my back too before, where like it was so odd because I feel like I couldn't even hold like my upper body up. So it was
That's
like
how
my
I felt.
pelvis. Yeah, it was like my pelvis was unstable. So I had to do a lot of like work to like retrain like the lower back, the glutes, especially the hips, because I think we talked about this too with like women, especially I feel like a lot of people store emotions in that lower area of the abdomen. So I feel like, a lot of times there's maybe some energy that needs to be worked through and cleared. But my week has been good. I'm just outside of Toronto, so it's been snowing. I have a feeling for
Oh, you're
us. Yeah, we've already had like three snowstorms already. So
Wow.
it's not even winter yet, right? So I'm a little concerned that it's probably going to be a rough winter, but I live in Canada, so it
we're
is what
still
it
at like
is.
a high of 8. So I've been waiting on the snow. I don't think so. Not
And just,
Well, see, down here,
yet.
it's been cold all week.
yeah,
So
How
I
cold
feel
though?
you.
'Cause last time you said that it was like 20 degrees. So for Canada, 20 degrees is what?
I don't even know. Maybe
Like, I don't know, you guys say like 57 or something. Is that cold for you?
Yeah. I mean, it was.
60.
It was coming off of like 80 and 90, but now this week it's been in the 30s Fahrenheit. So that's like a zero or something for you. I don't know. I don't know the Celsius to
Yeah,
Fahrenheit scale.
that.
Sounds about right.
So tell me, there is a full moon coming. How does the full moon affect you guys?
Heather P, I'll let you go first.
Had the pee. I like that. Um, I don't notice too much difference within myself. Um, I notice at work because I work in healthcare, and I think I mentioned this before on a previous episode. I do notice that when it is close to the full moon, we get an increase in phone calls, increase in issues, and it just kind of seems like there's, I don't want to say episodes, but for lack of a better word, situations that happen that are kind of out of the ordinary that normally don't happen. So I notice there's a big uptick in that, just in issues that come up. So I do notice it, I guess, more so at work than my own
Yeah.
personal life. Yeah.
Hmm.
What about you guys?
Yeah. Well, for me, I know the main problem that affects me is my sleeping pattern.
Mm.
When the full moon comes on for like the week of the full moon, I can't sleep. And then I go throughout the day so tired that I try to take a nap. And then I nap. And then it throws
Can't sleep
everything off. Yeah, it throws everything off kilter. And, it's the energy is just so, it's strong and I'm affected by it so easily. Um,
again.
you know, yeah, just one of those things that I can really in fact, sometimes I'm like, what phase is the moon in? Because I'm feeling some kind of way. So what phase is the moon in? And this time I've really felt it. But I also think one of the reasons why I'm feeling it so bad this time is because it's the end of the year. This is the last full moon of the year. And there's still a lot inside of me that I need to release. And so this full moon is kind of bringing that up, like the doubts that I was talking about earlier. These things that have held me back for a while are things that I'm going to work on releasing during this full moon, so I think that's one reason why sometimes it affects me more than others is if there's something specific that I need to do during that phase, then I really start energetically getting kind of irritated. So that's kind of a sign for me that what's that?
I said, I feel that you're like, you kind of get like eager. It's like something needs to come out of you and you're not quite sure where that feeling's coming from.
Yeah. So I think that's why this one, because not just for me, but I think all of us, you two and everybody listening, I think that we all have a lot of crap over the last year that has just piled up on us that we've got to let go before going into the new year. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to repeat this year. And if I carry this stuff into next year, that's exactly what's going to happen. Also, very interesting enough, I had a reading with an astrologer a few weeks ago, and a few days ago, and we were kind of discussing this in my energy. And she said, you're coming at the end of one of your cycles, with your age and everything. And since your birthday's in December, it's going to coincide with just the end of the year. So that's kind of why you're feeling this antsiness too, because it's not just this year. It's like an end of a whole 12-year cycle that I'm trying to purge. So it is really interesting. Because this year I will be 23. So no, I'm just kidding. This next year I will be 48. So I'm going like into my fourth 12-year cycle. So it's interesting. And I don't want to carry any of that bad crap over into the next year. So I think that may be why this has affected me so much. What about you, Lara?
It's so interesting to hear, like when we never thought to actually look into like astrologers and stuff, but it's crazy how it matches up when you look into astrology, numerology, and all of this stuff, how it actually does make sense, like per person. Like I know that they, what is it, numerology, they look at like the different numbers from your birthday to where you were born and all of these things, and they add up. And if you've ever looked into it, you're going to see how accurate it really is. And I'm always blown away by that stuff. But for the full moon for me, so normally when the full moon is approaching, I don't actually know when the moon cycles are, but I usually feel like same like you, I can't sleep at night. It'll be like days leading up to it. Sometimes it starts like a week early, sometimes maybe 4 days. But
Mm-hmm.
I reach like a peak where I'm like, okay, I'm like really anxious. Everything's kind of feeling off. The energy feels wacky. My kids are acting out of control. It's usually for a couple of days. I don't find on the full moon this happens. It's the days leading up to the full moon. So it's almost like everything just gets like extra energetically charged. And then all of a sudden, like, the night before the full moon, it's just like there's a release. That's when I have a good sleep, is like, okay, now everything is just being released. But I definitely feel like highly emotional at the full moons. I don't know. It's like I get all these physical sensations. I've even gotten like nauseous. It's so weird. I don't know why it affects me so bad, but I just feel like every single time I feel this way, I look and there's a full moon coming. So definitely does something to us. Now, Mercury in retrograde, I'm not sure how that affects us, but we're gonna have to talk to
Over with though, thank God. So
yeah,
yeah,
and I think that's one thing that we've talked about having an astrologist on. I think that's one thing they can talk deeper to, but I do want to go back to talking about like release during the full moon. One thing that I do when I know I have things that I need to release is I will get a candle, usually just a white candle just to center myself, connect to who I need to connect to. And I may take like a glass of tea or water and, drink it. But then I will start writing out everything that I need to release. And sometimes it's in just a list form, like this is what I need to release. And sometimes it'll be like journal entries, like this year, this is what I've gone through, and by God, I'm going to release it. And then once I get it written down, I take a piece or however many pieces of paper there are, and I fold them 3 times away from myself. And I fold them away because those are things I want to take away from me. So I fold it 3 times away from myself. And then I take it outside because I live in an apartment. So I take it outside of the porch and I burn it under the full moon. with the intentions of this is what I'm releasing into the world and I don't want it to come back to me. And I find that most of the time it does work. When I really put my heart into it and the intentions there, it does release a lot of those things. Now, there have been times when I've gone to release it, and a few weeks later, I'm like, dang, I thought I released this. And my guides tell me, well, you did, but you didn't fully. You wrote it out, but your body was still holding on to it. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if it's that doubt thing, that it keep it in.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I do to release under the full moon. But I think this full moon, I read earlier, also offers a bit of clarity, which I think is great going into the new year, right? Is um, trying to just decrease the fog that's developed in our brains all year long. Because I don't know about you two, but doing the readings and energy work and activation things that I do, um, it can sometimes really tire you out if you don't like ground yourself well enough or cleanse yourself well enough. But also after doing it all year, you still kind of got this debris in you sometimes. So it's good to clear it out, just get a clarity and a new look on going into the new year. Because I don't know if I think I've told you this before in talking privately, but I feel like the new year is going to be great for all three of us. You know, doing this
Yeah, you have.
podcast, all our personal stuff. I just feel that. I feel it's going to be great for us.
Do people really feel that the new year is like a completely new slate? Because I know, like, on paper, it's a new year, but do you really feel different from like one year to another? Like, when you wake up in the morning, you're like, everything feels better and lighter now. Like, I've always been the type of person, I'm like, maybe for just the next day, like, you may
Well,
as well
and
just every single day you wake up, you have a new fresh slate, like,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, I agree. And and even with that, it gets worse too that when you're thinking about it, sometimes you don't really understand that it's a made up, right? That hasn't always been the new year. That it's just something that
yeah.
they made up in calendars. So, sometimes that happens. Hi. Um,
Oh, right.
and
Okay.
it's so yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, it doesn't really make me feel different per se. But it's just that kind of mentality that if this is going to be starting, I need to get my mind right, because
Yeah.
January 1's going to come no matter
So it's
what,
just like
whether I
a
feel it or
mental
not.
fresh slate. It's not that like the energy actually shifts on that specific day. But you ever wake
Right,
up, like, usually such a nice day on New Year's Day too. It's like you wake up and all of a sudden it's like sunny and you're like, ah, everything feels lighter and better now, right?
right.
That's nice.
The birds
I
are
wanted to
chirping.
also ask you, sorry, I was going back into what you were saying earlier. You were talking about when you set intention as you are folding away, okay? And you're folding it the opposite way. So for other people, how do they know it, like, when they're setting intentions, right? How do we know how powerful intention really is? Like, how can we kind of direct them? And how do we know that our intention is working? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I just had this conversation earlier today that you bring this up. There is a difference to me, between intention and expectation, right?
Mm.
So if you set the intention, I'm releasing these so that my new year will be better. Okay, that in itself is kind of an expectation because I'm expecting my year to be a better because I'm releasing these. A better intention for me to say would be I'm releasing these to bring in whatever new needs to come into my life. You know, so it's really hard to tell people what intentions to set because it's so personal for each person, right?
Yeah.
It'd be kind of like saying, everybody, this is the way your fingerprint should look when everybody's fingerprint is different. So the best thing I can say to kind of answer your question about how do you know if your intention is working is what does it feel like when you say it? Does it feel empowering? Does it feel like it's going to work? Because quite honestly, and the way that I look at things is intention is part of what you feel, right? If you don't feel fully that this intention is going to go out into the world, it's not going to work. Okay.
So you need
If
to
you're
be like
doing
centered when you're doing it.
exactly, exactly. Heather, what do you think about that?
For me, intention, I always, I guess, put it out to spirit, my team, and say, my intention is to be more financially abundant. And then what I'm doing also with that, and I'm releasing the expectation of how that's going to transpire and when, and allow spirit like to co-create
Yeah.
with me. But also too, we need to be taking aligned action, even if it's only small steps in, you know, in the physical realm. I think that's as important too. And I feel like if the intention comes from your heart and you know it's pure and it's authentic and it's for your highest good, I feel like if you put that intention out there with your spirit team and you take those aligned actions, I think it's really only I'm a hopeful. I'm like an optimist. So I'm like it's gonna happen. I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes maybe I'm a little delusional, but it's worked for me
Kind
so
of you
far.
telling the universe, like, this is what I'm putting the intention into, and this is what I'm receiving back. That's what I feel like when you're putting intention into something, you're matching that frequency of this is what's going to happen now. And then instead of asking, you're just kind of declaring, you know.
Yeah. And I do agree with Heather completely that, and it's kind of like with manifesting as well. As you put your intention out there, you say, this is the way it's going to happen. Like for, instance, I can say, hey, I am going to manifest $10,000 this month. And then I go to my room and I lay in my bed for the month. And then at the end of the month, I'm like, why didn't that $10,000 come in? I manifested it. Well, because you didn't get off your butt and do something to help it come in. And that
I feel like
doesn't mean working.
sometimes.
What?
I feel like there are some people that just go and lay in bed and make $10,000.
There are. There are. I mean, if I start an OnlyFans, maybe. No, just kidding. No. Um, but and I want to say that, to specify that it doesn't mean that you have to go and work your butt off all month for 10 months. It's about opening the spaces to allow it to come in. Like maybe you've been thinking about, maybe I should sell something online, putting that ad out there, putting that store when you do the manifestation. Maybe that's the avenue that $10,000 needs to come in, and it couldn't come in unless you opened it. So it's just taking small aligned actions to get it to
Yeah.
come through. And I feel that's the same way with intentions and releasing during the full moon, is that I can write down all the things that I want to release all day long. But unless I take the steps myself to actually not think about them all the time, or give them over to God, as some people say, then are they really going to release? Um, that's a good question. It's about putting it out there and forgetting about it, whether it's release or manifesting. You put it out there and you let your spirit team just handle it. Right? You do what you can, you go throughout your day and just let it be taken
Yeah.
care of. So I do understand what you're saying, Heather Page.
Thank you, Robbie.
You're
Great
welcome.
point. Did you read to us what is this full moon and how is it supposed to affect people? Did
I
you already
did.
read it?
I did. I didn't read it to the whole group, but um, it talked about something. Let me pull it up here again. I think it said something about Robbie's getting sexier. Is that what it?
For sure, that's what it said.
Um,
Possible.
I see
I
it.
think that's exactly
I'm
what
too
it said.
sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt.
Well,
Sorry,
and
I don't know
like
why I
we've
started singing
been
that, but
like
Well,
we've been
Heather, you missed the
discussing.
memo. Me and Robbie coordinated colors today.
apparently I'm in a black hoodie.
Hey,
Missed missed that
that is your
memo.
problem, right? So the significance of this is not the right full moon. What the heck?
Uh-oh.
Y'all go ahead and talk amongst yourselves while I look at this, okay?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I should be more caught up on, like, the moon rituals and stuff, but it doesn't resonate with me as strongly as, some other things. So here
It
I'm
said
learning.
it's saying it's about clarity, release, and renewal, which is kind of what we were talking about with, getting clarity, releasing, and renewing for the new year. And you're right.
Mm.
I feel like that I'm a bad spiritualist for not knowing that right offhand, right? And some
No.
people, which I think it's important to tell people, is that
You
you
don't
don't
need to.
have to know everything about everything. Look it up. If you need to, look it up. Use the Googler or
I think
whatever you
people
need to
need to
use.
follow what makes them excited. So if they're excited about, reading tarot cards and oracle cards, let that be your thing, right? If you're excited about all of it, do it. But like, we don't need to know everything about everything. I'm not out here claiming to know. You know what I mean? Heather, you do tarot cards. I just don't find I'm not drawn to that. Like I did them for myself, just, for fun, but it's not something that like I'm out here trying to offer because it just doesn't speak to me that way to give those readings, but I love getting them, you know.
I kind of use it in
Yeah.
combination though, because it's for me when I pull a card, it's like it's not even really so much about the book meaning of the card, like the traditional meaning. It's how does that energy feel?
Yeah.
So that's what
Yeah.
I'm just kind of using it as a tool. I don't need the cards, but it does when I do use cards, there is energy that I'm picking up off those cards, and it tells a story that way. So it's just kind of like a
I
different
agree.
way of reading.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because I always kind of wondered. So when you are reading the cards and say they're like these cards right here, I'll pull out this random card, and they have these meanings on the bottom. Are those like, is that actually supposed to be the message that's supposed to get through to you? Like, can you trust that that's the message from spirit that's supposed to come through? Or do you get like an entirely different message internally? Like, how do you gauge it? Because I find even sometimes it's hard for me to kind of tune into the energy of the card and really find what is the message. I usually just read them.
So I think it depends. It could be, I think, if you pull a card, I mean, maybe the message that's written on it is pertinent, right? Sometimes what I'll get to is they'll draw me into like one of the sentences or one of the words. And it's almost like they're like super zooming like my eyes into that phrase. So that's pertinent. Sometimes it's just the overall energy, sometimes it's the color, sometimes it's the actual picture that's on the card. It really just
Mhm.
depends on the situation, but I feel like there's multiple ways that you can read a card. So I feel like it's kind of like mediumship in a sense. It's like you're tapping into like the energy field of the card. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, it does.
does it? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think it
just
just
Absolutely
feel like
agree.
depends.
it's
I
hard.
agree with what you're saying, especially with Oracle cards is a lot of times the sentence doesn't mean anything at all. I'll look at one and I will see a specific item in the picture. And I'm like, there's a reason why they're bringing my attention to this. And then I'll ask a little bit deeper, why do you want me to look at this? In Oracle cards, especially, but it does also happen sometimes when I'm reading tarot. Because, Heather, I think you and I read tarot a lot alike in that we read it intuitively or we channel what the message is rather than not worrying about what the traditional meaning is. Now, there are times where it just happens that the traditional meaning is what we're feeling, right? But I know in my case, when I look at a tarot card, there are specific things about that card that just pop out to me. Like I see the moon, or yes, I see there's 7 wands, but this one here is what is really drawing my attention. Why? Why am I looking at this one? Oh, because there's the second problem I've been thinking about is whatever it is that is going on. But it is really interesting the way that I don't use cards in reading as much as I used to when I first started. I still use them, but I noticed that most of the time when I do use them, it's more of a tool to help the sitter understand what I'm saying. Because kind of like going earlier, what I said is I can channel all the information I said, but if I channel it and then pull a card that looks exactly what I channeled, they're like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying now. So I think when I use cards, one, it's to dig a little bit deeper, but it's also to give a little bit of confirmation to the sitter that, this is exactly what the energy is saying. Is that what happens with you too, Heather?
I was just gonna say that you literally took like the words right out of my mouth because literally sometimes I do channel a message just with getting one card. The message will just come right in, and it's
Yeah.
my job to relay that message. Um, but I feel sometimes you'll say something and then you'll pull another card and that exact word that you were just talking about will come out in the card. So it's like double confirmation, and that
Yeah.
gives your sitter a visual too, right? Like, oh my
Yes.
God, like you just said that and then that card popped out. That happens to me a lot.
So when you guys are asking, like Robbie, you had said you look sometimes and like say like a wand pops out to you and you ask why. Are you getting an answer like internally, like in your head that makes you the knowing, just so like, I mean, even for me, but like so the listeners also have an idea of how to maybe pull these cards for themselves and receive a message.
Yeah. And that's the thing though, is that when I say, and Heather, I'm sure this is the same way you do, is that when I say I receive a message, Most of the time, it may be just one word, or it may be a picture, or it may be maybe a commercial that I saw when I was a child that reminds me of something. And so, yes, sometimes it can be like a complete message. Or what usually happens is I can say, "What does this mean?" And they'll say something like denial. And then I'll say, "Okay, well, tell me what that means. Go deeper. Can you tell me more what that means?" And sometimes it's just getting the message, the clearer message from them, right? The longer message.
What if
Um,
you can't receive the message? What if it's like it just stops at denial and you're like, but why? Like, tell me more, and then you don't hear anything.
well, and sometimes that's just the way it is. No, it, which is true. Sometimes they'll say, "This is what I'm telling you," and that's really deal with it, deal with it, whatever. But at that point, usually I will grab cards and pull more cards because it's kind of like getting into different layers, right?
Mm.
Where, okay, now I pulled this card and I see denial in this one, but a few other cards may be able to tell me the deeper meanings of this denial. Now you may ask, well, why didn't the guides just tell you? Well, because sometimes they don't tell you everything, right? And they
Very
want you
quick.
to they want you to get to the bottom of it. So
Feel
that's why I do. Yeah, sometimes that's why I do use cards in my readings, and I'll tell people at the very beginning. First and foremost, I'm a channeler. This is where the information comes from. But if I feel drawn to use cards, or if you have questions that we're not getting deep enough answers with, we'll pull cards and see what they say, and
I have more
it helps.
questions. I love that you guys are doing this because I feel like I'm learning through it. Okay, so when you are shuffling your cards, I'm a believer, at least for me, that spirit will give you the message however you are going to receive it. So if you are not somebody that's receiving the message intuitively or channeled, that they will give you the card that has the message written on it because they're going to place that in your path so you still receive the message one way or another. Okay. So I believe sometimes, yeah, Heather, you said like sometimes it's just a sentence that you're like, that's the part of the card and we can dismiss the rest. Like that's what I need to hear, right? But when, like for a lot of people, they believe that when you shuffle and one jumps out to you, right? One just falls out of the deck, that one's meant for you. What if like two jump out of the deck? How do you know which one to read first? Or like, are they supposed to be together? Is one past tense or present tense? Like, I have so many questions.
Hence, I mean, if two cards come out together simultaneously at the same time, it's a blended meaning. There's meaning in both of those cards for me. So I would tap into the energy of what's the combined meaning, maybe look at what they individually mean, but then what's the combined message? And I think too, just going back to like what Robbie said there, I think sometimes you don't always get the answer because sometimes it's either a lesson for your sitter or a lesson for you. And by that I mean sometimes I have had in readings where I don't get the exact answer because there is a lesson for the sitter to actually trust and go inwards and find the answer themselves. But then also, too, I feel like if I don't get the answer right away, sometimes it's about me deepening my connection and going back to the guides and clarifying that message. So it's like a lesson for me as well. I hope that makes sense.
No, yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, I feel the same way. When multiple cards pop out, I always see that as, hey, they need to be read. And that's really the cool thing about reading multiple cards is that yes, each one of them has a meaning, but when you lay them out together, they tell a story.
Mhm.
They say, okay, this is the meaning of each one, but together, and it's interesting. Sometimes you may have each one have their own meaning. You put them together, and they may mean something different.
Yeah.
You know, it just depends on how they come in and how they
You
work
see
together.
that like intuitively that they mean something different when they're all laid out together?
Right. Yeah. It's really interesting the way that it works. And I actually have this deck, and I'm going to do a shameless plug here because I'm sure, whatever. And it's called the Transparent Tarot. Okay. And I'll have to show it to you guys sometimes. But it's actually tarot cards that have been redesigned and redrawn on looks like clear, transparent
Oh,
plastic.
yeah.
And
I've
so
seen
you,
those.
yeah, you
Heard of
put them
that.
together. You can lay them on top of each other, and you can actually see like a 3D view of what they're talking about. And
Go.
it's really, I don't have them with me, or I'd show them to you. I'll show them to you later. But you can also lay them out like vertically, and you can see like a movie film, like, kind of like playing out a movie film, like a movie strip playing out in front of you. You can take them and lay them on other cards to get a deeper meaning of the cards.
So
But
cool.
it's kind of a good, very visual illustration of how you can have three cards that mean something different apart than they do together. And I'm just like you, Heather, when talking about the messages, because sometimes even the messages that come through that we're supposed to say can really mess with somebody. For instance, let's say somebody comes to me and they just want to know what about money? What about money? And I tell them, hey, your guides are telling me that you're going to win the lottery this week. Which I would never tell anybody for this reason that I'm about to explain. They say, hey, you're going to win the lottery this week. And they leave and they go by the store and every night they buy a lottery ticket, right? And then they call back or they come back and they say, you are a liar. You said I was going to win the lottery and I didn't win the lottery. And guides come in and say, well, they were going to win it, but it was because they were going to find a ticket on the ground at a store that they didn't go to because they were busy buying lottery tickets. You know, so that's why I don't like doing readings that predict the future, because sometimes just by knowing what the outcome could possibly be, you change it because you try to match it, right? When a lot of
Hey, I
times,
feel like that happened to me.
the future happens just by the circumstances because you got there and we're not supposed to know. But with that being said, I do know some readers that are fantastic on predicting the future. And so there are some people that can do it. I prefer not to.
That's probably why I never won at the casino because I was told I was going to win. You remember
So
that? And
tough. Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to the
Yeah.
casino tonight.
Yeah.
I was like, I just feel like I'm going to win. And then I left with nothing. And I was like, why'd they lie to me? It probably
They
happened.
didn't lie to you. Maybe you just changed the energy just by you knowing or expecting it. That's very well could be.
So then how, people that are really good at predicting, how can they predict if things can just change like that? Like, I mean,
Because I think the way they do it, they don't go into the details that somebody would need in order to change it accidentally. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but um, I've had people actually tell me things like, you're going to run into somebody that is going to change your life. It's not romantic, but they're going to change your life. And you're going to meet them at this place. And I'll just believe me, like, okay, whatever. This is so totally crazy. I don't do future, so I can't believe they're doing it. And then I meet somebody, and it's like, wait a minute, this is at exactly where they said it was going to meet, and this person just offered me a business partnership. Okay, I see what they were saying. So a lot of it, yes, people can predict, right? But a lot of it too goes into the center too, is how you take that. Are you going to obsess over it and try to figure out where it's coming in, or are you going to let it go and just let the energy do what it needs to do? And so that makes a big difference as well, I think, in predicting
so
things.
in terms of like prediction, they could be like, you're going to come into a financial windfall, but they don't say how that financial windfall is going to happen. So you can't actually intervene with it. Interesting. All right. That's gives me a lot to think about in the way you word things properly. Not that I don't do like future predictions anyways, but that's
Yeah.
still
It's
interesting.
hard for me. It's hard for me to do future, unless it just comes out and the guys are like, tell them this. I try not to. And
Have
I
you
know you
had like
guys,
any premonitions for your guys' selves? Like things in your personal life that you maybe dreamt of and all of a sudden they came true later in life?
yeah, I had a big one. I actually dreamt of the breakup of my relationship before it happened, about 3 months before it happened. And it was so realistic. I didn't believe it. And then when it happened almost the exact same way that I had seen it. So, yeah, for me anyway. What about you, Heather P?
What's that prediction?
Heather P. I feel like when I was younger, I used to get deja vu all the time where I felt like, things that happened had already happened. For me, I don't get too many premonitions for myself, but I feel like my dreams are very intense. And I feel like when I dream, which is every night, and I remember multiple dreams, they're alternate realities. So sometimes, and I know this kind of sounds a little crazy, but it's like sometimes it'll be people I know from this life and it's just a different role. Or sometimes
Yeah.
it will be people that I don't know, but it's like I feel like I know you because I do, just in an alternate, version of myself, alternate reality. So I don't get too, I can't think of off the top of my head any, specific premonitions that I can recall. Yeah. Sorry guys, got nothing juicy for you.
I mean, I don't know
No,
if you call
that's
this a
okay.
permanent. I don't know if you'd call this a premonition or a manifestation, but last year, about this time, actually, I was at a casino. We have a problem, right, Lara? I was at a casino, and they had this promotion going on where they played Candyland at the end of the night, and they would just drew names out of people that were playing, and the thing was, you play Candyland, and you're going to win a certain amount of money because each space has money on it. You just add it and add it as you move through the thing. So the people that got to play this are like excited because they're going to take home money. And so they were drawing three names, and the thing is they draw three, and you have 3 minutes to get to one of the booths and say, "Hey, I'm this person," or they draw somebody else. Well, they'd drawn two, and they were waiting. They'd drawn the third person twice, and they didn't show up, so they were drawing a third time. And they drew, and I said, "This is weird. I think it's going to be me. I think it's going to be me." And it was. Out of out of hundreds, maybe 1,000 people, they drew it, and I was like, "Holy crap!" So I don't know if that was a premonition or manifestation or not, but I took home some money that day. For the IRS, it was about $300. Um, but it was good money. It wasn't. It was a little bit more than $300, but I'm just saying. Um,
That's awesome.
but yeah, so I mean, I don't know if that's premonition or manifestation, but that happened to me once as well.
I feel mine's not like a good one, but there was one that I had, and okay, so looking back, I wasn't quite sure what had happened because I didn't particularly see this person, so I didn't consider it a visitation dream. I considered this like a premonition dream, because this had happened like before I even knew what I was capable of doing, and I had dreamt that this guy had passed away. Okay, I had dreamt about it, but I hadn't seen this guy in like 15 years. Okay, so they weren't close to me by any means anymore. And I had dreamt and then that they passed away. And the next day I woke up and found out they passed away. So I don't consider that a
Oh,
visitation because I did not like they didn't come to me in my dream and like we didn't chat. It was like I knew the next day. I was like, oh my God, like it was wild that way. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen to me too often. And I noticed that like premonitions are they can be all over the place. They can be very subtle, like very vague, and sometimes they can be very realistic. And I get deja vus all the time. My dad always told me, like when I was younger, he's like, oh, deja vu means you're on the right track. Now, I believe it's us seeing our life in what we knew would happen. So I believe that we had like maybe had a glimpse and there was like a glitch in the matrix, essentially. I don't know. But I believe
Yeah.
that that was the reason why. But yeah, I mean, premonitions, I don't have a whole ton of them. Like, I'll like dream, like, somebody's sick, and I'll wake up the next day, my friend will be like, oh, my daughter's sick. And I'll be like, yeah, I seen that the night before, like somebody's face that I'm going to meet the next day. That happens to me a lot, but nothing too exciting.
I mean, I wish I had more because maybe, we'd all be rich or something, but I just,
Nostradamus.
yeah, Nostradamus. But I just,
Dave, do you
I also
remember?
have, do
No,
what?
tell me. I
I
said,
said,
tell
I
me what you
also have this thing that, if you see it sometimes, if you see something, you work towards it and you just push it away from you. So I'd rather not know, actually.
I was just going to remind you guys, do you remember that time that I showed you guys this card that was put on my card, like, or on my car
Yes.
in the field, okay? And he had all of these things listed, like he's going to, oh my God, I think I still have that card somewhere. I kept it in my car because I just thought it was so funny. Psychic, and he's going to tell you the lottery numbers, and he's going to remove any negative relationship curses you have, and all these things. And he put it on every single card. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if this guy had the lottery numbers, why is he out here slaying cards? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It happens. So I think this was a really good episode, ladies. One thing I do want to advise people is that we're going to have two more episodes this year, and then we're going to take the week of I was going to say Halloween, Christmas and New Year's off, just to kind of give us time with our families and to reset for the new year. So I know some of you are on the edge of your seats waiting for every episode each week, and I'm sorry that it's going to be taking a break, but hey, even the Kelsey brothers take time off from their podcast, right? So if they can do it, why can't we? Right.
The Gallagher brothers.
I didn't even know they
But
had a podcast.
oh,
I'm terrible.
you are terrible. Anyway,
I
so
should know that because I
I
love
think
sports.
I was going to say, you should know it. Why am I the one mentioning the Kelsey
I
brothers when you're the ones that know sports, right? And if you say Taylor Swift, I'm going to smack both of you, okay? Which is really the reason. It's really the reason, but we will go into that. All right, ladies. Lara, do you want to take away and close us up?
Yeah, we'll see you guys in the next couple of episodes. That's all I really
All right.
have for today.
All right, then. Well, adios. Hasta luego. Bye-bye.
Bye.